the point of it?
That the judgment eventually and ultimately from the Supreme Court stands accepted largely because we can't do anything about it. We reject it, we disagree with it, and we cannot accept it, but it stands accepted because there is nothing we can do. That is the end of the road for Excellency Peter Obi and myself as candidates. But I think as this interview progresses, I will be able to tell you another point of view. And if I may just begin now, I'm not here to tell Nigerians that oil was discovered and we forgot about agriculture, or that there is unemployment leading to insecurity. I'm here to, for the sake of my country, say things that matter. I'm not here to regurgitate. I'm here to rescue Nigeria.
Well, let's move methodically in that regard, because before the swearing in of President Tinubu on May the 29th, I mean, to give this a bit of historical context, you were emphatic and clear and almost urgent in your call for Mr. Tinubu not to be sworn in. What were your fears and concerns? Because he's obviously been sworn in and the world hasn't come to an end, has it?
Nigeria may come to an end if the world doesn't come to an end. But very valid question. I feared for Tinubu himself, for himself, from himself. I feared for the reputation of Nigeria. You see, the international profile of global leaders has risen astronomically, to the extent that royals even discipline their own. Look at the profiles of gentlemen like Xi Jinping of China, all across the world. All of a sudden, we were faced with the dilemma of having to present to the world who our own president to be was. And I was one of those who knew that the answers were not good. The whole country would be put to shame. The last time I spoke, I nearly brought Tinubu's ambition to a screeching halt. This is evident by the events that followed immediately afterwards. One minister wrote the DSS on his company stationery. I don't know how that is possible. And another minister, skipped ECOWAS, skipped AU, and went all the way to Washington to report me. And Nobel laureate, a very, very senior citizen, inviting me to a national debate. And I'm not that smart enough, even though my dear good friend Chimamanda acted on my behalf. And then DSS coming out a week later, under duress, of course, you could see, to do the bidding of that minister. This shows they were scared. My simple point was that no constitution or any part thereof shall be breached in order to install a president. And if that is done, that presidency will remain unconstitutional. And I remain on this point. I pointedly say he must not be sworn in. They have gone ahead to do it. It is not the first time. Out of 16 heads of state stroke presidents of Nigeria, 9 were not elected. 7 were, out of that 7, 1 still remains challenged, Alhaji Tinubu. Challenged. And that is because of the constitutional breach. Now, my attitude from day one was that, based on experiences, let's forget anything electoral. I know the system deeply. My boss, Obi, knows the system deeply. let's go for the constitutional point. Yes, of course, there is that issue of the forfeiture. There is the forgery, but the clearest one we could get was on the FCT point. Now, get that FCT point, get him not sworn in. There are at least 2 other constitutional channels while sustaining democracy that we could have followed, but they wouldn't.
Right. Well, in that regard, it must have been another aftershock for you then, because both the Election Petitions Tribunal and the Supreme Court have affirmed President Tinubu's victory. I wonder to what extent that has left you personally, politically shaken and unsure of the ground.
Point of correction.
You're talking about.
Point of correction. And this is where I respectfully differ. And it is within my fundamental human rights and constitutional rights to differ. The petition court and the court, please quote me on this, did not actually affirm the success of Tinubu's presidency. They upheld the unconstitutionality of that election. And they are happy for it to remain so. And they have the power. Nobody can do anything about it. That is why we said it is an unreasonable show of force. If there was something we could do, we would stop it. But we are law-abiding citizens. That is why I'm here sitting with you today and still complaining. I was not shaken one bit. I will never be shaken by certificate forgery, by forfeited money over narcotics. I will never be shaken by IREV switched off in the middle of the game when they saw us winning. Labour Party won 2023 presidential elections. No doubt about it. They are cheats, they are bullies, and they have taken full advantage of the situation in Nigeria. When you ask me what is the situation in Nigeria, I will go ahead and tell you some fundamental things that say why we are in this situation today. Right. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, but let me ask you this, though,
yes.
Because you're making the point, the points you're making, obviously, as you said, that it's your right to air your sort of yes. assessment. But we are now unquestionably in the Tinubu era, and he's clearly made some bold moves since he was sworn in on May the 29th. What do you think his presidency has delivered so far?
Disaster. There is nothing bold or special about making appointments. Anybody can make appointments. Any right-thinking businessman, any public servant can make appointments. There is nothing. People jump over you, pay money, buy appointments. Most of the appointments you see are
well, that's an allegation we can't substantiate, of course.
Anyway, what I'm saying, there is nothing about making appointments. You should be talking about the Naira has fallen down to 1,250. You should be speaking about 26 Nigerian soldiers that were killed in neighboring Niger State. Something that has never happened in all Nigerian military missions throughout Africa. Nigerian military are dreaded because they are good, they are professional, yet in our backyard they kill our soldiers. Under Tinubu, what is bold in having your soldiers being killed? To rub it in, they followed with killing another 8 soldiers. To rub it in, villages, almost on daily basis, that is the news, everywhere in Nigeria. This man has delivered nothing and is poised to deliver nothing. Well, they have not moved an inch Nigeria from consumption and waste to production, and they will not do it. They will not stop the killings and start the healing. Well, they will not stop the stealing and start the keeping. And right. They will not stop slide of Nigeria and they cannot start the climb.
Well, I mean, the international community, certainly some in the international community, would beg to differ with your assessment, because I wonder what your reaction is to the latest Fitch International Ratings Agency, which is hugely respected across the world, and that is the front page of this day newspaper today. Fitch has rated Nigeria's credit worthiness as stable. It's given it a B minus. I mean, surely that suggests that international confidence, and it did actually say that, in the Tinubu government is growing. Well, can I just make the point? Even though, in fairness to some of the points that you're making, according to Fitch, that rating is constrained by what they described as weak governance, low non-oil revenue, security challenges, which you talked about, high inflation, low forex reserves, and weakness in the exchange rate framework. Nevertheless, for somebody who just started in office about 5-6 months ago, to have that kind of rating from...
I have a lot to say.
Yeah, go ahead. To have that kind of rating is pretty impressive, isn't it?
Charles, it would have been more productive if you listen to Nigerians on the streets. More productive if you go into the villages and find out from those whose families are abducted. Find out from average Nigerian worker when they go to buy foodstuff in the market. Not Fitch. Fitch don't know you. They don't know Nigerians. They don't know. Look, I live on statistics. I eat, I sleep statistics. So does Obi. We create statistics.
Yeah, really. But Fitch are the people who give...
Are you forgetting...
Who impress the international community to bring their investment into this country?
Are you forgetting the likes of Fitch and those rating agencies are those who were largely responsible for the 2008-9 financial crisis? But look, let's not go into those lines. Let's come back to Nigeria. All I'm telling you, you're looking the wrong way. If you want to know what's happening in Nigeria, come to us in Nigeria and don't read those statistics because they are misleading. They always speak about growth. It's not growth actually that matters, those figures that give you, because there is nothing as misleading as far as welfare is concerned as growth. The stethoscope you use in measuring the heartbeat of an elephant, for example, China, cannot be the same one you use to measure the heartbeat of a rat. Smaller countries, I won't call any country a rat. Do you understand? Leave that aside. Let's come back to Nigeria and speak about what is happening in our streets, in our villages, in our markets. These people have not done any bold step. The only bold thing they did was to shut down IREV. The only bold thing they did was to misapply force on the weak Nigerian institutions that we have. Now, ask this question. For someone that has been playing God, in quotes, for such a long time like Alhaji Tinubu, and it is time for a mortal, like maybe Obi, or somebody to put him in his right place. For someone who has wielded so much power in a country like Nigeria, where is that power in the last 6 months for them to apply in our welfare and our security? They cannot do it. They are in power for themselves, for their ego, for their wealth, for their comfort, for their own considerations, not for Nigeria. We are pained about every soul that is killed, that is abducted and killed. We are pained by every naira that is paid as ransom. And we are committed to stopping that. And stopping we will. And I'm telling you, give these people...
as a member of the opposition?
Stopping we will whenever we get the power to do this.
So between now...
let me finish. Where is the power? The same kind of power they used in getting Mahmoud Yakubu 4 a.m. to declare them against the provisions of the Constitution. Where is that power to prop up the exchange rate of Naira, to stop the killings? They don't have it, and they will not do it.
Well, you did say that you wanted to move forward because
Yes.
obviously we've established the fact that the election is over. You have grievances against the results, but he's been affirmed by the Supreme Court.
You said methodical. Let's
Right.
now be methodical. What I want to tell you is that the big picture, we say democracy is government. Well, let me just go. Democracy is not government of the people, for the people, by the people. Democracy is government of the people who have earned their rights, for the people who can protect their constitution, by the people who can exercise civil liberties.
So given what
When
you
they
just...
say people,
Right.
what kind of people? The people who will fold their arms while their constitution is violated, then democracy is not for you. I have said it. It belongs to only those who can practice it with due respect.
So
Just hold on.
Right. I was going to ask you what your assessment of the state of democracy is in Nigeria, given what you just said.
It is poor. The people have to wake up to the challenges. For a people that are ready to accept anything, then anything will happen to them. Again, in quotes. You see, a fraction of 1% difference in a political DNA of a society can spell the difference between servitude and freedom. Last year you saw it. Indian farmers sat in a location for 1 year because of one obnoxious government policy until Indian government reversed it. Before the war in Israel, Israelis were in the street for 16 weeks, counting. You can count so many other countries. Nigerians are not yet ready to do this. As I'm speaking to you, the likes of my former friend who would say it's treason, is all that, I am educating Nigerians. Rise up for your rights. No justice of Supreme Court will give you democracy.
Yeah,
you have to go out.
But they're not going to be able to reverse that,
Let me
are
finish.
they?
They will.
I mean, they
Nigerians,
can't.
this is
Constitutionally,
no,
they
no,
can't.
no, no. Constitution and legal, and this is where I differ. With all modesty, okay, I don't mind being alone on this, but I know I'm not breaking any law, and I have never had a criminal record.
So what are you
But
actually
let
calling
me
on the
finish.
people to do?
I'm
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
I'm getting to that.
Sure.
I'm
Just that
saying,
we're running out of time. So
I'm saying that, and again, this is instructive. I'm saying that we, the people that stood to form the Nigerian Constitution today, it is not over. For we, the people, power is that which remains standing when there is nothing to oppose it. A leader is he who remains followed when there is nobody to challenge. Authority is that which is implemented when there is nothing to stop it. They have the leaders in place now with wielding authority with political power. But power and sovereignty belongs to the Nigerian people, we the people, on whose behalf an elected government is exercising that authority. Now, where the people are dissatisfied with the rulings of their courts, they own Nigeria. Alhaji Tinubu does not own Nigeria. Peter Obi does not own Nigeria.
Yeah, but the
Nigerians on the streets own Nigeria.
But the
and
APC,
listen, I'm getting to the point.
The APC would argue that you don't own Nigeria either. That you have a portion of the electorate that voted for you.
I'm not telling you it is not over. I'm telling you it is not over. For Peter Obi and me, it is over. For we, the people, the Nigerian people,
Right.
at any point in time, they can take back Nigeria.
Right.
Especially where their constitution has been violated. Especially where all that the Supreme Court ended up doing was to sustain the unconstitutionality
Right. Well,
of a certain election.
Let me come in here, because between now and 2027,
yes,
which is when the next presidential election is due, how do you think things will play out? And what role do you see yourself and Peter Obi and the Labour Party playing in that?
When the Nigerian people rise to defend their constitution, anything can happen. And
well,
this is not.
That sounds quite a bit worryingly
frightening. We are in a worryingly frightening situation. I told you I'm not here to repeat what you've been hearing. And I was prepared to come here. I have never had a criminal record. I love my peace. And I'm repeating that when the Nigerian people decide, Nigeria is theirs for the taking. And any fraudulently elected government is fair game for them. Nigerian people have the right, the constitutional right. As we speak now, DSS can go and interpret. They have lawyers there, police, IG, and they can go and interpret. The Nigerian people have that power. Not Obi or Atiku or anybody. Nigerian people have the power at any point in time to take their country. All they have to do, not even seek approval. They give notice.
It's interesting.
And listen.
Right.
You turn away the barrel of your guns, away from the Nigerian people, and point them at the enemies of Nigeria. This country belongs to Nigerians.
Well, you've made that point.
When Nigerians decide,
but
if they want to practice democracy,
right,
they will take this country. It has happened before. The military decided, they took Nigeria for so long, they fixed Nigeria and handed it back. Now, whoever thinks that the Supreme Court will give democracy from any courtroom, the way it appears now is mistaken.
It's interesting.
Nigerians have to go out.
Right, you've made that point.
Nigerians have to go out and democracy. And this is not a treasonable comment.
Right.
I am not a careless person. I have never.
So you've thought the things you're saying through.
I thought it through very,
right,
very well.
Well,
this is the Constitution is made by Nigerian people. The Supreme Court is a sub of one chapter that the Nigerian people constitutionally came out, that we the people, and the same constitution says that no person or groups of persons shall take over the governance of Nigeria or any part thereof except as prescribed by this constitution. And go and read the constitution of Nigeria. The serving Alhaji Tinubu Malam Shetima government breaches the Nigerian constitution.
Right, okay, can I come in here for a minute?
Yes.
Because you mentioned Kashim Shettima.
Yes.
Your brother, the spokesman of the Northern Elders Forum, Hakeem Baba-Ahmed, is of course now serving as a special advisor on political matters to the Vice President Kashim Shettima, which means that he might have to help Mr. Shettima to devise a strategy for dealing with political opponents such as yourself, his brother. Does that rub you up the wrong way, given all the things you've just said about that government? Your own brother is now working for them?
Charles, I am after the government. I'm not after appointment. I am after the president and the vice president who were fraudulently elected, unconstitutionally elected. I cannot come down to speak about any appointment. He is by far my senior brother. So there's no way to say he's an adult or he has his own rights or his own life to live. Our politics are completely detached. And in fact, it is his boss I know, not him. And his boss, since you brought this question, he is not exactly a responsible gentleman. With all the things they've been doing, now you brought up this issue, I didn't want to talk about it. You see, they attempted something on my safety, on my security, and I was able to find out 10 minutes to time. And God so kind, I was able to avoid. They tried to get me into one of those yellow houses down the road, get people to come and arrest me there, and use that to rig the judgment. I became so inquisitive, and I dodged within 10 minutes, only for me to come and find out, based on strong suspicion, where it came from. And with what I see, then the strangulations in Lagos in the past, yes, they happened, and they were for a reason. The people gunned down in Borno State, it happened, and yes, it was for a reason. I think Peter Obi and myself have been lucky to have stood today to give that press conference. So the least, taking my senior brother to give him an appointment is the least of my worries. I am not worried about any appointment.
Right. Well, let me bring in another.
If he likes, he can go and take the entire Baba-Ahmeds and give them ministers. I don't mind.
Well, let me try.
I will still.
You'll still stand by the things you say.
It is an unconstitutionally
which is
Supreme
impressive
Court
that you stand firmly by your beliefs.
Yes.
But you were called fascist by the Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka because you and Peter Obi claimed you had won the election. He used those words. He accused you of trying to force a lie on the Nigerian people. How much did that broadside affect you, coming from someone with such a stature as Wole Soyinka?
Please, I respect him too much, and I have more important issues to discuss. Let's go to another question.
Right, so you don't want to talk
I
about
don't talk
it.
about
okay.
Soyinka. Well, come back to Shetima, and I'll talk about Shetima.
Well, let me talk about something.
A very irresponsible gentleman.
Let me talk about something that is
imminent.
imminent.
Be he the vice president or whatever that he is, I'm telling you that he has conducted himself in so many ways in these 6 months that demean the office of vice president, and I'm not happy about it, especially the way he's been treating our elder, Atiku Abubakar. For God's sake, Atiku Abubakar is getting to 80. He is by no measure of imagination Shetima's mate. How can Shetima come out and say that the Kanuris crack jokes with Fulanis, therefore he's going to retire him to Dubai or Morocco? And these are very personal issues. What kind of an irresponsible statement is that to make?
Well, I am not privy to having said that. For him,
I am, and it is true. And
obviously, the vice president's office.
So what I'm saying is that leave Soyinka out.
Yeah.
Bring who matters to me, like Shetima. Bring Alhaji Tinubu. Look, even Tinubu, I have much respect for Tinubu. You heard Shawari criticizing me for me calling Tinubu uncle. I call him uncle. Where I said, you saw the picture that I went to greet him in the mosque, and they said that I went to plead. No, it's just respect. But the fact that I respect his age doesn't mean that I will not call him a drug dealer.
Yeah, well,
or a certificate forger.
Well, I don't think you should call him those things.
I will,
unless you have
I will. That is why I said do not
evidence
swear him in.
Yeah,
the evidence is there.
Yeah, but can I just make the point that on Arise News, they have a right to reply to the things that you said.
One of them will come tomorrow.
And we're giving them that.
One of them will come tomorrow. Let them come and say that.
We're giving them that right.
Let them come and say that he didn't forfeit $460,000.
Well, let
them come and say that the
I want to tackle you. I want to bring up issues, and I don't mean to interrupt you. My apologies, but I want to deal with issues because we've got about 5 minutes or so left. I want to deal with issues that are upcoming because you did say at the outset you wanted to move forward. Off-season elections are, of course, due on November the 11th. In 3 states, Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo. The Inspector General of Police has just redeployed the Commissioner of Police.
That's not my line. Leave
in
it.
Imo.
I don't have any answer for you. That's not my line.
Right, because I was going to ask you, is it, I mean, we saw, for example, to assess the chances of the Labour Party there.
That's not my line. Come back to the substance of democracy, of what the Fourth Republic has done. You know, we all have our specialities in this game that we do. I don't know about those elections.
Yeah, but you're the vice presidential candidate of the party.
Not that
and
vast.
The more your party gains political traction,
speak to me on
the more it is good for you.
I know. Speak to me where I have strength on. That one is for the party chairman and His Excellency, my boss, Peter Obi, they can handle that, but come back to the issue of constitutional breach, come back to the issue of the rights of the Nigerian people, come back to the fact that I keep telling you, it is not over. If the Nigerian people decide to rise, they will reclaim Nigeria. The Europeans came, there was no constitution, and they had power. They colonized Africa. So power is when you have the power to do and nobody can say. Now, Nigerians can take this power because their constitution has been breached.
Right.
That constitution is their
so
own. They had faith. Right. Nigerians had faith.
I think you've made that point over and over again.
Right.
We've got about 3 minutes left.
Yes.
What is your next move?
Continue in this line of protecting Nigerian constitution. Continue in this line of creating awareness in Nigerian political system. Continue in the Labour Party and the Obidient movement with Peter Obi. Continue to sensitize Nigerians and then continue to tell the people in power that they have unconstitutionally taken over Nigeria, sustained by the Supreme Court, and they are destroying our dear country. They are destroying the future of our children. And for doing that, I will continue to say exactly what I have said in this interview. Doing that,
if they were to...
There is no way to fight an individual or group of individuals like to destroy their country or to destroy the future of their children.
But if they were to approach you and Peter Obi and the Labour Party and said they wanted to sit down with you and look at the sort of reforms, for example, that could be put into Nigeria to make this place better for everybody. For example, things like restructuring, electoral reform. Would you participate in that discussion?
Can Tinubu Shetima resign and get the Senate President sworn in to conduct a new election?
Well, it is unlikely that they'll do that.
So we cannot support them.
Okay.
We cannot. Anything that deviates from how the Constitution provides it, we will not.
Okay. Yusuf Datti Baba-Ahmed, Vice Presidential Candidate of the Labour Party. It was lovely to have you here. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate
that.